put you on the bus, too.
Wow.
We'll put you on the bus. All right, we'll put you on the bus, too. Good job, get it right.
Well, if you were driving through Los Angeles on Wednesday, there was a good chance you could have been stuck for hours, because as you just watched, pro-Palestine protesters took it upon themselves to block the 110 freeway in LA, bringing traffic to a standstill and causing cars to be backed up for miles. From 9 in the morning, protesters linked arms on the southbound side of the freeway, sat on the road, held up signs and used a megaphone to call for a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, causing massive disruptions to the Americans who were trying to go about their day, get to work, drop their children to school, make appointments. And one man tries to tell protesters he was trying to see his wife, who was sick in hospital. Take a look at how this escalated. Watch as protesters clashed with commuters.
Now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
The California Highway Patrol confirmed 75 people were arrested, but it's not clear whether they were all protesters.
California Highway Patrol. I am a peace officer of the state of California. All persons on the 110 freeway southbound around 2nd Street are in violation of blocking the freeway. You are hereby ordered to immediately leave the area within
Organisation, If Not Now, said its LA demonstrators had shut down the interstate to demand politicians call for a ceasefire in Gaza.
Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live! Let Gaza live!
This is the latest on the situation in the Middle East. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says they will fight until the end, regardless of support from the international community. But the leader of Hamas describes Israel's post-war plans for Gaza without the terrorist group as a delusion.
Gaza is a quagmire of misery. This is Al-Mawasi, one of the so-called safe zones. And as the winter weather sweeps through the camp, children step through the mud to fetch water. Others cook in the open. There's not much food, but at least the fire provides some warmth. The United Nations says the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding here is off the scale, and it's only getting worse. Abir Abu Abadi fears she and her children will not survive.
I can't see a future for Gaza. It's semi-burnt. If this war continues, even if we don't get killed with rockets from the occupiers, we will die from diseases.
The fighting is raging across much of the Strip. These pictures, released by the Israeli military, show close-quarter gun battles across communities that are now simply wastelands.
Israel's ground offensive inside Gaza appears to be intensifying. And it says there could be months of fighting ahead before it reaches its objectives. But there are signs time could be running out. Calls for a ceasefire are growing louder. And even its closest ally, the United States, is warning Israel that it's losing support as the humanitarian suffering worsens and the casualties continue to rise.
The trauma and pain of October the 7th is raw. And the Israeli government says international pressure will not stop the war. What to do when the fighting ends is still an unanswered question. But in this interview with Sky News, the Israeli ambassador to the UK ruled out any future Palestinian state.
I think it's about time for the world to realize the Oslo paradigm failed on the 7th of October, and we need to build a new one. And in order to build a new one...
Does that new one include the Palestinians living in a state of their own? Is that what it includes?
I think the biggest question is what type of Palestinians are on the other side. This is what Israel realized on the 7th of October.
Though?
The answer is absolutely no.
So the two-state solution is dead?
Why are you obsessed with a formula that never worked, that created this radical people in the other side? Why are you obsessed with that?
Israel denies America's assertion that its bombing campaign is indiscriminate. But the number of civilians being killed in Gaza and the damage here tells another story. The sharp words from the US also appear to show that a rift has now opened with Washington, and real pressure to end this war has begun.